Hello, good evening, and if you are in Europe, it's good morning. And yes, normally I have my stream starting shortly sign up, and I forgot to put it up. There we go. So I only just literally in the last 5 seconds of that intro realized that you could see me. Good thing I was not naked. So there we go. Gosh, this show is so slick and so professional. I love it. Let's see, who is here tonight? We've got a good number of people by the look of it that are in the door, and who was first? Michael Johnson was first. Followed very, very quickly by Ken Moss, and Thomas is here as well, and you guys were having a good little chat, the three of you, before the show. Mike Neighbour came. Right on time. Beatrice is here. Bobby Booth. Small crowd in tonight by the look of it. Just Bob is here. Says hello. And a big hello to DDD. How you been? I'm glad she's back. I'm glad she's here. That's awesome. And she says she's doing much better, which is very, very cool. Glad you are back among us, my dear. I'm very glad to have you here. Always glad to have you here on Sunday Night Live. And we have a small crowd tonight. Let's see, how many do we actually have? Because I can check these things. Well, okay, we've only got 10 people here. So, small little gathering. We usually have the last few shows peaked at around about 23, 24 people. So we're a little low on numbers tonight. I'm not quite sure why that is, but it is what it is. It's not Thanksgiving, is it? Is it Thanksgiving this weekend? Is it? If it is, then that may well explain it. Mika's here as well. Awesome. Says hello all, at least you can read. Not sure what you meant by that, and just as I read that out, you deleted it. Raina is here. Raina all the way over in Germany, and it is 1 a.m. in the morning for you. You are a crazy boy. It's holiday time, Just Bob informs me. Yes, I think it probably is. It's the end of November, and I thought Thanksgiving was last weekend, but I'm clearly in the wrong, and that's cool. Thanksgiving is on Thursday, says Mike. Thank you. Mika's here. He says, I'm one of 11. Okay, so we've got a small crowd. So because we have a small crowd and it is holiday weekend for you guys, I think we may do a slightly shorter show tonight. And that's cool. I don't mind short shows. But we'll see. It kind of depends upon your questions, guys. If you have lots of really good questions and things that we can talk about, then we may well last a full hour. We'll have to see. It's kind of down to you guys. So get your A game going. I have been at the Women's Scottish Cup final today, down in Tynecastle, which is the other side of Edinburgh. Well, it's in Edinburgh, but it's the north side of the city, at the heart of Midlothian Football Ground. And it was Hibernian, which is one of the other Edinburgh teams, against Glasgow City for the SSE Scottish Women's Cup, and which is kind of like the equivalent of the Scottish FA Cup, basically. It was a great game. It was an absolutely great game of football. Soccer, you guys in the States would call it. But here we call it football because we invented the game. So, so anyway, it was a great game. My daughter is a footballer. She plays for her school, and she also plays for the local club here, Edinburgh South, in the under-11s girls team. And she's very, very good. Very, very good footballer. So we took her to go see the cup final, and she absolutely loved it. It was a goal crazy thriller. So it was. It was tied at 3 with about 3 minutes left to play, including stoppage time for injuries. There were a couple of injuries. One lassie. They had two lassies. Two girls had a clash of heads, and one of them was just out cold. So there was quite a long stoppage time for taking care of her. So they add that on to the end of the game, and it was in that stoppage time period that Glasgow City scored the winning goal. So well done to them, but it was a great game. And I had lots of fun. Raina asked, do you compress and EQ your voice for the live stream and a tutorial? I do, actually. I have a limiter. I don't have an EQ, but I do have a limiter. I also have an expander on here as well, so when I stop talking, it goes completely silent, and you don't hear any extraneous noises or anything like that. And the reason why, you know what, that dates back to my earliest shows at my old house, where the mic input on the old, I think it might well have just been an old cable. I can't quite remember, but we used to have a lot of hiss, and I hated that. And so as soon as OBS included an expander in their software as a plugin, I put it on. As soon as it became available, I put it on there and set it up so that it would work really smoothly and nicely, and you just wouldn't notice. And it works brilliantly, and I guess I just haven't taken it off. So there you go. Very funny, Andrew Farmer. They had 2 colleagues playing football. Lassies, it's kind of Scots. Lowland Scots for ladies is what we mean there. Let's see. Why is water wet? That's a great question, Mike. Run the shower and you'll find out. Let's see. Just Bob says, my voice is in the key of F. I googled many songs. I get stuck in my head. They are in F also. Do we gravitate to music and lyrics that match our voice key? Kind of sounds comfortable. Yeah, I don't know that it's necessarily the case that anybody is in a particular key. I think there are certain keys that certain people find comfortable to sing in. Like some people will find D and G really comfortable and easy to sing in, because it kind of sits right in the strongest part of the register. But I don't necessarily think that anyone's voice is pitched in a particular key, because then that would make your voice a transposing instrument, which, yeah, that just doesn't really work. But for a variety of reasons, that just doesn't work. So it may well be that F is a key that you just naturally find very comfortable to sing in which case you're quite a rarity, because not a lot of people find the key of F very comfortable to sing in. Particularly if you sing a lot of country music, or you sing rock, or you sing classic rock, or you're into hip hop. You know, those kind of genres, or soul, or classic R&B, those kind of songs don't tend to be in flat keys. Sometimes they are, but for the most part, they are not. For the most part, they are in sharp keys, like E, sometimes in B, sometimes E, I've already said E, sometimes A, D, and G. You know, any of those, 1 sharp all the way up to 5 sharps. Those tend to be common keys for popular styles. Jazz songs, they tend to be written in flat keys. And the reason for that is because trumpets, trombones, saxophones, they are in flat keys. So trumpet is a B-flat instrument, which means that when you play a C on the piano and you tell your trumpet player, hey, can you play me a C? You play your C, what comes out of the end of their horn is a B-flat. So you have to go, aha, okay, so in order for him to play the same note as I'm playing, he needs to play a note that is a tone higher than me. Okay, so then you say, okay, trumpet player, sorry, can you play a D? They'll play a D, and you play a C on the piano, and you're playing the same note. There you go, that's transposing in a nutshell. So tenor sax is a B-flat instrument as well. Alto saxophone is an E-flat instrument, as is baritone saxophone. Trombone in a brass band setting is also a B-flat instrument, but in a more popular setting, it tends to be read as a concert pitch instrument. So same notes as the piano. So they're in flat keys. So most jazz tunes are in flat keys because they're easier to play. But great question though. What's going on with the upgrade for 4.6 in December? I don't know. Other than there is going to be a 4.6 in December. And it's all I can tell you is that it is feature rich. I will tell you that much, because that's probably all I'm allowed to tell you without getting shot by Rick Nackby. So yeah, that's all I can tell you, is that there is going to be a Studio One 4.6 in December. Michael Johnson says, also, I use the benefit of mic proximity to help his voice sound clean and rich with the deep tones coming through. That is correct. That's exactly why I have the mic nice and close up, because I want to use the proximity effect to enrich those low ends. You're absolutely right. But you will notice that I'm not speaking into the microphone. I'm actually speaking across it, so that I don't get too much sibilance and I don't get too many plosives. Plus I have this handy little pop filter as well, which deals with some of the plosives, but so that I avoid some of the sibilance. Not that my voice is very sibilant anyway, because I have a very slight lisp. I have the mic kind of pointing up towards my nose, just in front of my nose, so that I avoid those kind of things. But I can therefore make use of the proximity effect with the mic, so I get a lot more low end into the microphone. But yes, that's quite true. Let's see what else is going on. Mika says, I hope that it doesn't turn Studio One into a bogged down door, top heavy, with frivolous code for non-musician / producer crowd. Yeah, I don't think that they would do that, because to do that would be stupid and would not hit their target market, I should think. So, but as I said, I can't really tell you anymore, so I'm not going to. Michael Johnson says G, D, C, D can be translated with a couple of B7 in E minor to A. Yes, absolutely. Deirdre says it is getting a little pricey with the fader port and Atom and all the new software. And Michael says we've got 18 now. Okay, that's cool. So we're starting to get some more numbers in. That's very, very cool. But on that point of it getting pricey with the fader port and Atom and all the new software, you see, you don't have to get a fader port. You don't have to get an Atom. You don't have to buy everything that Presonus put out there. At the end of the day, they are a tool manufacturer that are just providing tools to make music making easier for their customers, and to make money. That's essentially what they do. It does not necessarily mean that you have to buy everything that they put out there. Just like you don't have to ever upgrade Studio One if you don't want to. I work with people, students who I teach music production to, who are still using Studio One 2.6. Yes. In fact, one of my guys is still using Studio One 2.5. Fortunately for me, I have every version of Studio One installed on my computer going back to 2.5, which is when I switched to Studio One. So, I can very quickly just open up whatever it is that student needs, so that we can both see the same screen, and, there's no kind of confusion or anything. And, the reason why he's still on 2.5 is he's just like, it does what I need it to do. It works for me. I don't need anything else. And I'm happy with the feature set that comes with Studio One 2.5. So that's what he uses. Now, obviously, Studio One 2.5 is no longer officially supported. There's no more bug fixes or anything like that for Studio One 2.5, or there's no updates or anything like that. So he's kind of stuck where he is, but he doesn't mind that. He's happy with that. I did tell him that he will at some point need to upgrade, because when Windows 7 goes end of life, he will find that he will have to make his computer permanently offline, and he doesn't want to do that. So he is going to have to upgrade at some point, just so that you can stay Windows 10 compliant. And Studio One 2.5, I'm not sure 100% whether it works on Windows 10. Or how well it works on Windows 10 even. So, yeah, you don't have to get everything. Mika says, if you're a Mac user, straight up best value is Logic X. If not, Studio One is at the top. I have used Logic. I used Logic before Apple bought it. And I have used it subsequent. I've used it in studios where they've had a Mac. And some of the studios here in Edinburgh actually are Logic studios. That's what they use. They don't use Pro Tools, they use Logic. So I've had to work with it, and I've had to get my way around it. And my personal opinion of Logic is it's not gloriously user-friendly, to be honest. And I don't like the look of it, personally. But at the end of the day, it's just a tool. It's just another way of getting things done. So whilst my studio is a Studio One studio, it's a PreSonus studio, and it will always be that way. I'm not going to be switching to Logic or anything else anytime at all soon, if ever. But, I have used it, and my personal opinion, having used a lot of DAWs, including Pro Tools and Cubase and Logic, and I also flirted with Mixcraft for a little while, and Reaper. I've used all of those, and my personal opinion is that Studio One is vastly superior to all of them. Now, they each have their strengths and weaknesses. Studio One has its weaknesses. It's not by any means a perfect DAW. It does have weaknesses, but my opinion is that it's the most user-friendly, and you can get things done quicker. I can certainly get things done quicker in Studio One than I can in anything else, including Cubase, and I used that for 30 years, so I really do know my way around Cubase a lot. I know all the hidden shortcuts, I know all the backdoors and everything else in Cubase. I know all of those kind of things, but still, I can get a job done faster in Studio One. So that's that, really. Let's see. Andrew says, I'm finding Studio One is really buggy in the MIDI editing section. I'm sorry to hear that. Gotta say that I am not having any issues with MIDI editing in Studio One. And not had any issues with presence either. I noticed that Mika says he's discovered some issues with presence. I've not seen any. I think it's no secret that I am a beta tester for PreSonus, and I certainly didn't see anything with presence during that phase of things. Let's see. Andrew says, when I edit audio in Studio One, it jumps back to the beginning of the song. What am I doing wrong? What you are doing wrong there is you probably have the transport controls set so that when you press stop, it returns to the start of the song. And there is an easy solution to that, which I will show you right now. So when you are in Studio One, I think it's in the transport menu. I think it's in here. Let me see if I can remember where it is. Where's it in the Studio One menu? Ah, there it is. Yes, so if you're in the transport menu, you go to options, and you've got all of these here. Loop follow selection, enable play start marker, return to start on stop. If you have that engaged, pretty much every time you press stop, it will return to the start of the song. Which in some cases is a good thing. I think that's effective when you're recording. So when you're tracking, this is a good option. But you don't need it when you're editing, because it, like you're experiencing, it will be a pain in the buttocks. So I would avoid using that at that point. So this return to start on stop, disengage this. So make sure there's no checkbox there, no tick rather. Or make sure it has this current status, no tick. And you should be good with that. Okay? So hopefully that fixes that little issue for you. Let's see. Yeah, Bobby, you're quite correct. There is no perfect DAW. Absolutely. Okay, Michael, I'm not quite sure what you're talking about there. Well, Andrew, you probably need to check that setting then, because it shouldn't, if you have that unchecked, if you have that setting unchecked, it won't return to start. It will return to where you stopped. That's just a fact, mate. That's pretty much how it works. You know, we can bring up a song, and I can test that for you right now, just to be absolutely certain. But pretty much, that is how it works. So let's press that button there, and let's go across to Studio One again. All right, so let's put my start marker here just before 2 minutes. I'll put snap on so I can actually snap it to 2 minutes exactly. Okay, and I'm going to hit play. Take this banker's cross, in God we trust, says on the bill. And as soon as I press stop, see, it stops. It doesn't return anywhere. Now, if I have this option engaged, return to start on stop. Let's go back to 2 minutes. And play it again. Take this banker's cross, in God we trust. You see how this little timeline thing snapped right back to 2 minutes as soon as I press stop. So if you have that option checked, that's what it will do. Okay, so uncheck that and it won't do that anymore. Take this banker's. There you go. See, it stopped exactly dead where I wanted it to stop. But if I press the stop button again, so I press it twice, it'll go back to where I started. So let's say I start at 1 minute. From boom to bust, may give a thrill. It can still. And then I stop there because I go, aha, I want to edit one of these backing vocal parts here because I've just spotted an error in there. That's fine, I can go and do that. But then let's say I want to review my edit now that I've just made. I press stop again. It snaps back to the last start point. From boom to bust. And now I can go, aha, okay, perfect, we've got that right. I made that edit correctly now, it sounds good. So that would be how that works. So yeah, so I hope that fixes that for you. Oh, okay, I understand, Michael, thank you. Andrew says it only does when I'm editing audio in the middle of a song, but not every time. Okay. It only does when I'm editing audio in the middle of a song, but not every time. Yeah, I have to say, I'm not having that experience here. So it could well be something that you have set up somewhere in your transport settings. Or if you're using a fader port, it could well be the way you're using the fader port, or something else. But I'm certainly not having it go back to the start. I mean, if I play from here, from boom to bust, make it a thrill. And if I stop, it stops dead. But then if I press stop again, it goes back to 1 minute. But if I press stop again, now it goes back to 0. So maybe you're pressing stop a little too many times. And yes, that would be annoying if you're all the way over here and you're editing over here. Says on the bill. And you accidentally hit it too many times, and all of a sudden your timeline has gone all the way back to 0. Yeah, that is annoying. And then you have to go locate that part again, especially if you're zoomed in. Let's say you're really zoomed in on these BVs. You want to tighten up these start points here, maybe. Okay, I've pressed stop once. Oh, yeah, press stop a second time after a pause. So if you press start, in God we trust, says on the bill. And then you press stop, and then you leave a few seconds, and then you press stop again. Now it goes back to 0. So if I'm zoomed in on 3 minutes 20, steal your life. And if I press stop again, second time, it's gone back to 320. If I press stop again, now it goes back to 0. Okay, so I hope that sorts that. Yes, if you press stop twice, it'll go back to 0. And it could well be that that's what you're doing, and you're just not realizing that that's what you're doing. Amika's talking about the stock acoustic bass in presence, draw amp and sustain to 0. It doesn't work. To be honest, I don't actually really spend a lot of time editing the instruments. I just play them. And maybe that's why I've not noticed that, Mika. But yes, I will test that myself later and see if I can confirm it. And if I can, I'll pass it up the chain. Bobby Beers with $10. Thank you, buddy. I appreciate that very, very much. That's very, very generous. Michael says, how can a fader port 16 help me if I'm working on mostly MIDI and can assign parameters to the control on my keyboard? I'm attempting to get into scoring orchestral stuff. If you have everything mapped out to the knobs on your keyboard, like literally everything you need in Studio One mapped out to knobs on your keyboard, then maybe it, the new features added to Studio One 4.5.5 may not be of tremendous, massive benefit to you. However, on the fader port 16, you are able to control the faders very, very easily, very, very smartly. The workflow on it is very quick. And also, you have everything at a glance on the scribble strips. And the new paging options make it a lot easier for you to see what you're doing. I mean, you could do both. You could have everything mapped out to both your keyboard and the fader port. It's kind of just a matter of what suits you best. But as I say, if you have everything mapped out and, kind of how things work for you now works really, really well, and you don't think you need to change anything, then don't. I mean, I think the fader port 16 is an extraordinary piece of gear. It really is. It's a great, great device. Especially now with all of the new options, it's even more awesome than it already was. Kind of think about what it can do. Watch some videos and see what it can do. Watch particularly Jonny's new videos that shows all the paging options. And, kind of think as you're watching it, how is that going to fit into my workflow? Does that add to my workflow and make my workflow faster and easier and more streamlined? Or does it just add bloat to my workflow? And if it's the latter answer, then you can just go, okay, maybe I don't need a fader port 16. I'm all for buying stuff that you need rather than just buying stuff because, hey, it's the new latest PreSonus gear, frankly. That's my opinion. And, I might get flack for that opinion, but, that's just me. I have some great gear in my studio. Some of which I've paid for, some of which, maybe not quite so, because I've been gifted with a lot of stuff over the years. But by the same token, everything I have in my studio is because it's stuff that I actually need to make my job easier and to be able to work faster and get my work out to my clients faster and at a higher standard, higher quality. So, you have to think about that. Even if you're not doing this professionally, even if you're not working for people, you're not working for clients, and all you're doing is working for you, think about it in terms of, if I'm putting my music out there to the world, which I'm hoping that you are, even if you're not signed to a record label, or you're not working for other clients, you're just working for yourself and you're putting your music out there for people to listen to, people to get into, and to build a little fan base, even if it's a small one. Heck, my fan base is small, and I'm okay with that. I don't mind having a small fan base because they buy my stuff and they're very loyal, and they keep coming back. Every time I put out a single, they buy it. If I put out an EP, they buy it. It's just like, we know what he does, we like what he does, and they've bought into me as a person, which is really what I'm after, which is a whole nother subject for probably a different show. But in this case, if you're putting your music out there, so there's, in that sense, you're not under financial pressure to get the job done, so that you can get paid, then you have to think about, I'm going to be shelling out X hundreds of dollars to purchase a fader port 16. Is that going to be a good investment? Is that going to be a sound investment that's going to make getting my work out there faster, more efficiently, at a higher standard, and thus, the quality of my output increases, and hopefully more people listen to my stuff, more people maybe even think about buying my songs, and therefore you recoup some of that investment, then it's a good thing. It's a good thing to do. But if it's not, then, and you don't have a ton of disposable money that you can just burn on a fader port 16, then you have to think carefully about, is this going to work? Is this going to do what I need it to do, and make doing what I do faster and better? Because if it is, then great. Go ahead, make the investment, go and buy it. But if it's not, I would say hold off until you're sure. That would be my personal opinion there. Now you guys are talking about Groove 3. Groove 3 do have some good stuff. I've seen some of their videos. Some of their stuff is very, very good. Some of their Studio One videos are very, very good. But to be honest, there's quite a lot of us out there now. There's quite a lot of us out there that are making tutorial content, and a lot of us are putting tutorial content out there for you to purchase. We are in the tutorial business to make money. And, as such, I could regard people like ADSR and Groove 3 and Dave Vignola and Joe Gilder as competition. I don't. I, as far as I'm concerned, we're all doing the same thing. We're educators. And as such, I encourage people to check out their stuff. I encourage people to check out their videos. I'm forever saying, go check out Joe Gilder's stuff. Joe is a good friend of mine. Dave is a good friend of mine. I've done tutorial products with Dave, like I did MIDI drums made easy a couple of years ago. And speaking of those, I am reissuing those. They will be in my brand new store when I launch that very, very soon. Those are going to be freshly reissued. They will still be available from Dave's store for a wee while, but they will be available from me directly for the first time, which is very, very cool. I'm very excited about that. So I did that with Dave a couple of years ago, and yeah, we sold quite a few. It did okay. Both Volume 1 and Volume 2 did okay. They did all right. I made some money out of that. And arguably, I could not necessarily have done that without working with Dave to make that happen at that particular time. So no, I don't necessarily see these people as competition. At the end of the day, we're all professional colleagues doing the same thing. We are serving you guys and providing tutorial content that helps you make music. That's what we're about, as far as I'm concerned. So yeah, so if you guys are wanting me to talk them down, that's not going to happen. I won't talk down any other tutorial content creator. Mike says you've got a couple of donations. I mentioned Bobby's donation. Oh, Michael, you gave me $10 as well. Thank you very much, my friend. I appreciate that. That's very, very kind of you. Okay, I'm going to allow that, Mika. Because I think you're addressing your own opinion here. And that's okay. I allow people to have their own opinions. Using the fader port for mixing and VST plugin editing is a pain in the ass. There you go. I even said it. I'm not entirely sure I agree. I don't think I do agree, actually. But that's okay. You're entitled to your opinion. Let's see. Andrew says, I tried all those settings and I still can't get the timeline to go back with 2 presses of the spacebar. Okay. Try if on your computer keyboard, if you've got the numeric keypad on your computer keyboard, try pressing 0 on the computer keyboard a couple of times. That may take it back to 0 for you. But let me just see, actually, in Studio One, if doing it with the spacebar works for me. So I'm going to park myself at random over here, 2 minutes. There we go. Make this banker's cross. In God we trust. Okay, that's spacebar once. No, you're right, it doesn't work. If you do it with the spacebar, it doesn't work. So if you press 0 on your numeric keypad twice, that'll take you back. So spacebar to start it and pause it. So effectively spacebar is start and pause. Okay, and then if you want to return to 0, use your numeric keypad. Oh, that did something funky in OBS. I'm not quite sure what it did. Okay. There is a key command conflict I'm having with OBS because 0 does something else in OBS. Okay. I shall not press that button again. Let's see. You guys are great. Lollipop Guild says has it had past tense Lipsham, and that's about to go up off the screen, so I'm gonna have to scroll up and get that. Had a quick conversation with Martin. His surgery went well, and he's doing exactly what the doctor ordered. Taking it easy. He says hi. Well, Martin, if you are watching, if you are not watching live, then hopefully you are going to be watching the replay. I wish you very well. I hope you get back to full fitness very soon, and I'm very pleased to hear that your surgery went well. That's good news. That's good to hear. And Lollipop Kill, thank you for coming as well. I appreciate you popping in. Let's see. Woodbeast is here as well. He says, greetings to all. Is Martin Weeks okay? Apparently he is. That's very good. Mike Neighbour says, but Dave, Joe, and people like Graham Cochran concentrate more on audio than MIDI. I'm not a musician. I do everything on synths and software. Yes, you're right, actually. You're absolutely right. They are not really MIDI guys. I use MIDI quite a lot. I wouldn't say I'm extensively a MIDI user, but I do use it quite a bit. I use it for doing mock-ups mostly. So, anything that I can mock up that can generate a part that I can send to other musicians who can then come in and replace it, that's how I use MIDI mostly. Occasionally I'll actually just for the sake of time and to get something out there relatively quickly, I will just put the whole thing out in MIDI. But yeah, you're right. There's probably a little bit of a gap in the market there, maybe. Let's see. I need to scroll down again. Okay, you guys are chatting, which is very cool. Mika says, I also find the FaderPort 16 motorized faders to be clacky when you change pages. I do think there's a software control that slows down the snappiness of the faders. Yes, I believe there is. I believe you can slow them the responsiveness down. But you know what? Even on the Series 3, I will demonstrate by turning off DAW mode. And you'll hear all my faders go down to 0. And then if I press the DAW mode button again, they go up. You can hear them go whoosh. I don't know how well that comes up on the mic. Hang on, let's do it again. Yeah, you might be able to hear that. But yeah. And I think they are on the Series 3, they are a little bit quieter than they are on the fader ports. I don't think I can do that with my fader port without disconnecting it, though. To try that. But yes, I think maybe you're right. Okay. Okay, I have reached the bottom of the chat, and we have about 15 minutes to go. But you guys have had some really good questions. So has anyone got anything else that they want to talk about? We've talked about the FaderPort 16. We've talked about transport controls and different transport control options in Studio One. And making sure you got them set right. Is there anything else anybody has? We'll give it a few seconds because I know the chat is always about 15 or 20 seconds behind. Let's see how many people we got here in the show. We have 26 people here. That's awesome. 26. And yes, Michael, that is tea. I do drink tea. I drink coffee as well. But yes, in this mug, I have tea. I like my tea. I like my tea strong. I don't like loose leaf tea. I usually have tea bags. And I usually have a splash of cold milk, just a little splash. Literally, you just go, whoosh, that's it. Just a splash of cold milk, and then a couple of spoons of sugar. Stirred up nice, and I am very happy. But I do drink coffee as well. I can switch hit. Mika says, I find myself using MIDI more and more. As I mentioned on Jonny's discussion, the proliferation of desktop MIDI synth modules is needed more and more. Yes, I agree. Studio One needs more MIDI tutorials, extended control, etc. Yeah, you know what? You're right. And I think Jonny may well be able to fill the gap there, because he does more of that than I do. To be honest, MIDI for me is purely functional. It's I play a sound, I record it into Studio One, job done. It's as simple as that. I'm not really playing around with control commands and all that kind of stuff. and extended controls and mapping knobs and all of that kind of stuff. I really can't be hassled with that stuff, and I don't need it. And I think that's probably genre specific, to be honest. If you're working a lot in music where you need to automate a lot of MIDI parameters, then yes, you're right. Those kind of features are important to you, and to be able to map them to knobs on a controller keyboard or on the fader port, I think is invaluable to those that work that way. I don't work that way, because the music that I work in predominantly doesn't require me to. If it's mostly a case of I need strings, I play strings, or I need some orchestral woodwind sounds, I play the orchestral woodwind sounds, or I need some MIDI drums, that's fine, I play my nice Ludwig custom 1964 drum set on my keyboard. And that's pretty much it. That's what I do with MIDI, to be honest. I don't program any bass parts because I'm a bass player. I don't program any keyboard parts because I'm a keyboard player. I do it for mocking up horn section charts and orchestral charts. And for maybe even mocking up backing vocal and choral parts where necessary. Like, for example, for our Christmas show at my church this year, I am writing the horn section parts, and we have a little string quartet as well as the horn section, and we have a rhythm section as well, plus we have a choir. So I have to write out all of those arrangements. So I do all of that in Studio One. I do all the mock-ups in MIDI in Studio One. And then what I do is I send them to Notion by Presonus, and through the interoperability with Notion in Studio One. And then I print the charts out, and then we rehearse them. So we've got rehearsals coming up for the string quartet and the horn section this week. So I need to have finished charts for them, and I'm about halfway through. And there's 15 songs that we're doing. So I need to have all of those finished, and I'm about halfway through. So that's what I do. So I mock them up in Studio One with my mock-up rhythm section, and then I use Notion to print them out. And that's it. They don't go anywhere after that. So I don't play around with envelopes and filters and all of that stuff. I just don't need to. But we all do different things. Mika says, yes, but you've been using MIDI for a long time. Much of it is taken for granted, but the leading edge of music today is MIDI modular synths. Everyone wants retro sounds. You are quite correct. Whoopi says, will you have turkey for dinner, Christmas? Maybe. We didn't last year. We had lamb last year. But yes, we may have turkey this year. I like turkey. Livepop says, sounds like a niche that needs filling. Perhaps you're just the man for the job. Possibly Mika is the man for making those kind of tutorials. I don't know. And yes, I have been using MIDI for a very long time. I've been using MIDI since pretty much it was invented. I loved it as soon as it became easily available. In probably the late 1980s, mid to late 1980s, I guess. 87, 86, 87, I think, is when I first encountered MIDI. I was just a boy. But, my dad, my mum and dad worked in studios a lot, mostly in Manchester and down in the southwest of England as well. So, I got to hang around in a lot of different studios, and that was what got me hooked actually in recording and mixing, was just watching it being done, and I was just like, I want to do that. And so as soon as I was able to get hold of a MIDI keyboard and an Atari ST with Steinberg Pro 24 on it, and a pair of little crap Roland speakers that were about that big, I did. And that was me. And then, of course, was it Cubase? I forget which version of it that it was that you could now record audio into your Atari ST. I can't remember which version of Cubase that was. But as soon as that was available, I got that straight away. And I was like, yes, I can record audio. That means I can do vocals. Yes. Because I had been working in a kind of hybrid system. So I would use the computer to do some of the programmed elements. I used it for doing synthy kind of sounds, which were popular in the 80s at that time. Even in fusion music, they were really popular, those kind of synthy sounds. Yamaha DX7 kind of sounds, Roland D20, Roland D50. Yeah, I programmed all of those things into the Atari ST, and then I would mix that in Pro 24. Happy with the mix, I would then print that to my reel-to-reel tape machine, and then I'd overdub everything else on the top of that. So my horn section, me doing vocals, backing vocals, percussion, all that stuff was overdubbed through the console onto tape. And that's how I worked. I worked like that for a good long time. Even once I had kind of a bit more of a more modern sort of desktop PC in like 1999, 2000, still doing the same kind of thing. And, even though I could record straight into Cubase, audio straight into Cubase, I much preferred going straight to tape with audio and doing MIDI stuff in Cubase. I know, strange. But that's what I did for a long time. And I went fully in the box digital in about 2001. On Cubase 5, I think it was back then. Woodby says, do you do this for free? Do I do what for free? Do I do Sunday Night Live for free? Yes. Sunday Night Live is a free show. I don't charge. Which is why your donations that you guys very generously give me are crucial and very important. And I use those donations, by the way, to improve how I do my show and to invest in things like a better camera, better lighting. I've got much more lights now than I have had at any time. So, that's what those donations go towards, is to improving how I do Sunday Night Live. I've got some new graphics and things coming up when we launch the new website and the new store. I hope you saw the promo for that, which I put out yesterday. I did a premiere. It's the first time I've done a premiere, actually. And I know a few of you that are here tonight were there for that. I thank you very much for being there. I'd never done a premiere before. That was my first one. And I know it was only like a minute and a half. But it was a good little test to kind of just see how it all worked. And it does kind of work like a live stream. So I may well do those in the future a bit more to promote new stuff. And maybe kind of like make them a little bit longer as well, rather than just a minute. But so yeah, I have totally lost my train of thought, and that's absolutely fine. Andrew says, my first MIDI computer was an Atari ST. Yes. Yeah, I would say that was mine as well. Mika says, I have no time for doing YouTube tutorials. I barely have time for sessions with paying students. You know what? I know exactly how you feel. I try to put out a tutorial once every week, and that's probably my bare minimum that I can do. That's my maximum I can do at the moment, because the rest of my time is just too busy taken up with with mixing and working with clients and doing session work. I don't really have a lot of time for making tutorial videos. But that said, with the launch of my new site and my new store, I've got new tutorial products that are there for sale, which you'll be able to get your hands on as soon as I launch. So that's going to be very, very cool. I've got a songwriting course, beginner songwriting course, and a beginner music theory course. And the idea is that those will whet your appetite for the intermediate and the advanced courses, which I am already making, by the way. I'm shooting those not as we speak, because I'm here talking to you. But over the course of the next few weeks, sort of before Christmas and after Christmas, I will be shooting the intermediate courses. And then kind of in February, I will get those out. There you go. I said in February now. So I have to do it, don't I? So yes, around about the springtime, there you go, February, March time, the intermediate courses will come out. And then a little bit later in the year, the advanced courses will come out. So you'll have beginner, intermediate, and advanced of songwriting and music theory. So you'll be able to get your hands on those. Mika said, Dr. T's case, yes. It had a live interactive feature that had nothing else to do. Yeah, I think you're right there. Mike's got to go. I'm sorry you got to go. But we are past 1 a.m. I didn't think we'd make it to 1 a.m. But we did. Whoopi says, do you ever eat a sandwich from Popeyes? No. There you go. Great question. Michael says, I still have an Elisa's ADAT. You know what? That's really funny, because so do I. You can't see it's out of shot, but it's over here. I've got an old 8-track cassette machine. You know, it kind of looks like, it's one of those VHS style cassettes that you put into it. And it's an 8-track machine. I don't use it very much, if at all, anymore. I have it set up in the studio because I did think, hey, maybe what I might do is run my mix, run my buses out of Studio One into the ADAT, and then record the ADAT back out into a stereo input print track in Studio One. I did think about doing that, but I've not set it up. It looks like too much of a hassle to set up. And I'm not entirely sure whether it would sound any better or not. Maybe I just need to experiment and try it. But yes, I still have my ADAT. It's digital tape, obviously, so it's noughts and ones. So I don't know whether it'll have any beneficial difference or not at all. I just don't know. But I got rid of my analog tape machine a long time ago. Light pipe. I could use light pipe. Yeah. But yes, it does kind of look like a hassle to set up, so maybe I won't do it, and I'm not entirely sure it would benefit very much. But I do have the masters of a record I made in 1993, which is on ADAT. So maybe I will print those into Studio One and then make digital releases of those someday. Who knows? It's definitely an option. Let's see. Why is Studio One telling me side-by-side configuration is off and unable to open? I have no idea. I need maybe a little bit more context. So here's the thing I'd like you to do, Beatrice, is perhaps you could post a screenshot of that for me and post it into the Home Studio Trainer support group. And then tag both me and Jonny, and also tag Truckee Kruger as well. And then the three of us can take a look at that and see if we can figure out what the story is there. Yeah, if you could do that for us, that would help a lot, and we can get more people working on that as well. Because it is 1 a.m. in the morning here, and I can't really stay up a whole lot later because I have to be down at my kid's school for 8 o'clock in the morning to teach a percussion class. So, yeah. So there you go. That's that. And I hope that you have found the show very, very helpful and useful. I certainly had a lot of fun, even though we had a smaller crowd. And I want to say a big thank you to my very kind and very generous donors. Thank you very much for the $20. I think it was 20 altogether. Somebody correct me if I'm wrong. But I think it was, yes, Truckee is still around. I think it was $20 altogether. I think it was. But I want to say big thank you to both of you for the generous, very kind donations. I appreciate them a lot. Next Sunday is going to be a bit more of a special show. So, and actually, it may well be a feature-length show. I'm still in the process. I mean, I've talked about launching my new site and my new store. I'm still in the process of testing and making sure that everything works. But as soon as we are absolutely certain that everything works, so that you guys, when you go through checkout and everything else, that it all works properly as it should. As soon as I can confirm that, then the launch will be a go. It'll be a green light, and we'll launch it. So I'm still hoping that we can do that by next Sunday, but we will see. Like I said, we're still testing and making sure that everything works, because there have been a couple of issues that we've had, which meant that we had to push back the launch until this beginning of December. But I have my good friend Dave Vignola, who I mentioned earlier. He's helping with it because he knows the platform that I am building my new site on. He knows it really well because he uses it for both homerecordingmadeeasy.com and mixingmadeeasy.net. They are both on the Kajabi platform, and that is the platform that I am now using for my website and my new store. So he knows it very well. So he's helping me test it and make sure that it all works properly. So that is the plan, everybody. And Deer Creek has just appeared, which is awesome. He says, I just want to bang the drum all day. Yeah, tell me about it. But yes, so next Sunday, the plan is to have a feature-length show and show off the new site and everything, and all the new graphics and everything will go live as well. That's the plan. But as I say, we will see how testing goes over the course of this week. But I will definitely make sure that you guys, if you are on my email list, you'll be the first to know, and then YouTube will be the second to know. And that's how it will work. So I will see you guys on Wednesday for Songwriting Simplified over at Jonny's channel. That's going to be epic. Really looking forward to that. So until then, I wish you all a very good night, and thanks for coming. Good night. Bon nuit, good night. Buenas noches.